I built a life so quiet no one noticed how full it had become. I always believed life would feel more like a movie. Sweeping scores, dramatic monologues, rainstorms that mean something. But it turns out, life, at least mine, is mostly laundry cycles, half-used notebooks, and the gentle hum of a dishwasher that never fully dries the forks, and I've grown to love that. My name is Clara Winter, I'm 34, child-free by choice, and I live alone in a fourth-floor apartment near Sendlinger Tor in Munich. My flat smells faintly of lavender and old paperbacks. I work part-time at a publishing house and teach a community watercolor class on Thursdays. My life isn't loud, but it's mine. The best part of my week, Tuesday evenings. Not because of any grand tradition, but because that's when I host dinner. It started 2 years ago with just me and Annika, a colleague who needed a place to cry and eat pasta after a breakup. Then came Toby, my neighbor with an endless supply of stories and exactly zero cooking skills. Then Johanna, who used to be my university professor but now shows up with homemade bread and an open heart. We aren't a club or anything, just 4 people who show up at the same table every Tuesday, bringing wine, leftovers, or sometimes just themselves. I call it Clara's table. They never do. Tonight, I made a warm lentil salad with roasted sweet potatoes and goat cheese. Nothing fancy, but as soon as the first guest rings the buzzer, it's like the whole flat shifts. Warmer, fuller. The conversation is never planned, but it flows. From European train delays to childhood piano teachers, to the question of whether soup counts as a meal or a beverage. Consensus, meal, always. Toby brought wine he can't pronounce. Annika brought her dog, Bruno, without asking. Johanna brought her new boyfriend, and I pretended not to be caught off guard. There's laughter. A lot of it. There's clinking glasses and second helpings and napkins stuffed into shirt pockets. There's no milestone, no announcement. Just people, present, fully, softly, without pretense. And at the end of the night, after everyone's gone and the flat has exhaled, I wash the dishes with the window open, letting in the cool city air. My life isn't a movie, but on Tuesday nights it sounds like one. Like the quiet kind, the kind where nothing explodes but everything matters. Mornings in my flat are slow. I don't hit snooze. I don't rush. I just drift into the day. My alarm is an old classical radio station. I've never changed the station or the volume. Some days it's Vivaldi, some days it's German news at half volume. Today it's Bach, soft and structured, like the weather, like me. I sip black coffee from a chipped white mug I've had since university. There are finer things in life, but this mug fits my hand just right. It's never in the cupboard. It's either full or drying. I read while I eat. Not novels. Too early for fiction. Just 1 or 2 pages of essays or diary entries. Today, it's Virginia Woolf. Something about rooms of one's own. She's right. A room isn't just space. It's freedom. By 10 o'clock, I'm walking to work. The cobblestone streets downtown are still wet from last night's rain. Cyclists dodge puddles. A bakery on the corner fills the air with the scent of rye and fresh butter. I stop for a pastry I don't need and nod at the owner like we're old friends, even though we never speak. My office at the publishing house is small, with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves that I sometimes just stare at. I work in editorial, copy edits, typesetting decisions, and the occasional poetic argument about commas. My boss, Peter, is kind but allergic to silence. He talks to fill time. I listen to save mine. Today, we're reviewing a memoir draft by a woman who walked the Camino de Santiago after her divorce. It's honest and unsentimental. I like that. Life can be beautiful without always being dramatic. During lunch, I sit in the park alone, reading proofs. Pigeons flock around my sandwich. I give them nothing. They stay anyway. The afternoons slide by. At 5:15, I close my laptop and tuck it into my bag. I don't take work home. That boundary is sacred. I stop by the flower shop on the way back. They're setting out lilacs. I buy 2 stems. The woman behind the counter wraps them like they're delicate secrets. "Für dich selbst?" she asks. "For yourself?" I nod. Always. At home, I water my plants. I light a candle that smells like green tea. I play an old record. Nina Simone tonight. I open a blank page in my sketchbook and draw without aim. Sometimes it's lines, sometimes it's nothing, but it calms me. I don't need the whole world to notice my life. Just me, fully present, fully human. Tomorrow is Thursday, my watercolor class. But tonight is just mine. No plans, no performances, just softness and space. Thursday evenings have a rhythm all their own. I leave the office half an hour early. No one minds. I bike instead of walking. The breeze on my face as I glide down Max Verstadt's wide streets feels like a private reward. The sun is still out, warm but lowering, and the trees cast long, shifting shadows across the pavement. I arrive at the Community Arts Center just before 6. The building is old, a little creaky, with mosaic tiles in the foyer and paintings from past students along the walls. There's a quiet comfort in knowing I won't be judged here. Not for skill, not for silence. Our instructor, Eva, wears scarves in her hair and never speaks louder than she needs to. She smiles at me when I enter, hands me a sheet of thick paper, and says only, "Let it breathe tonight." I nod. I always do. There are 4 of us in the class, a retired architect, 2 students from the university, a mother of 4, and me. We paint landscapes, mostly. Sometimes fruit, sometimes nothing recognizable, just emotion and color. I find a seat by the open window. Tonight, I paint a bridge. Imagined, not copied. A bridge over water that doesn't exist. I use blues and ochres, a bit of pale green. The brush slips in my fingers and I let it. The point isn't to control the image, it's to let it speak. The others murmur softly, but I don't join the conversation. I'm not shy, just full enough without words. Eva passes behind me and pauses. "Peaceful," she says, nodding at my work. I smile but don't answer. Some moments don't need replies. After class, I carry the still wet paper home carefully, like it's fragile glass. I hang it by a clip near the kitchen window, next to last week's foggy trees and the week before's abstract waves. None of it is brilliant, but it's mine. Dinner is simple. Grilled vegetables, soft bread, olive oil. I eat at the table with music low in the background. I scroll through an old album on my phone. Photos from last autumn, a trip to Lake Tegernsee. Me in a red coat, hands in pockets, wind in my hair. Alone? Yes, but content. People always ask me why I don't feel lonely. Sometimes I do, of course, but not in these quiet hours, not in the stillness I've grown to love. I journal before bed. Nothing dramatic, just notes. A sentence or two about how the paper felt beneath my hand, or the sound of the woman 2 doors down laughing as she fed her cat. Life is a collage, and I'm learning to hold all the pieces gently. Sundays are slow in Munich. The city breathes a little easier, and so do I. I like to start the day with a walk to the Victualian Markt. The stalls are alive with color, fresh fruits, cheeses, flowers. I rarely buy much, but I enjoy watching the vendors banter, the hum of locals picking their weekly groceries, the little dogs on leashes darting between legs. Today, I stop by the flower stall and pick a single stem of purple lilac. The vendor smiles, hands me the delicate bloom wrapped in brown paper. "For your home?" he asks. I nod, feeling a small warmth rise inside. As I wander, I sometimes overhear bits of conversation, snippets of lives different from mine. A couple arguing softly about moving to a new city, a mother calming her toddler who just dropped an ice cream cone, an elderly man telling a story to his grandson about the old city wall. I like to imagine their worlds beyond those few words. Back home, I arrange the lilac in a small glass vase. The scent fills the room with a quiet joy. I brew a cup of tea, pull out my latest sketchbook, and begin to draw the street outside my window. 2 children chasing a dog, an old woman walking her bicycle, a man reading the newspaper on a bench. Drawing like this feels like a conversation without words, quiet, unhurried. Later, I sit on my balcony with the tea, watching the city shift from afternoon gold to evening blue. The sounds of distant laughter and a church bell folding into twilight remind me that even in stillness, life is moving all around me. I think about the people I've glimpsed this week, their stories, their worries, their small joys, and I realize how connected we all are, even in our solitude. I write a line in my journal before bed. Life isn't always about grand events or sweeping changes. Sometimes it's about noticing the light through the curtains, the way laughter carries through the air, the softness in a quiet evening. In these simple moments, we find our own kind of happiness. I close the book and look out at the city one last time. The night is soft, the air cool. No big revelations, no sudden miracles, just peace. And for now, that's enough.